He's an old head.
Youngins are really starting to get on my damn nerves.
He's a purveyor of nonsense. He's a Georgia high school coaching job influencer. His favorite Bible verse is, Jesus wept. He's the man of constant sorrow, Chris Kelley.
Yeah.
Sun Coaches is proud to partner with Titan Sports for the next 4 seasons on Sun Coaches podcast. Titan GPS delivers technological superiority and improved player performance through wearable GPS made for high school football and strength and conditioning. From speed training to athlete recruit to workload enhancement, Titan is the easy-to-use yet comprehensive GPS tool to get it done. There's no minimum to get started, and Titan will walk you through every step to success. Message us on X at Titan Sensor to learn more and get in touch. Welcome to Sun Coaches Podcast, Season 4, and today got a special guest with me. I've known Coach Kelley for, Coach, 30 years?
At least 30.
Yeah, it's been a long time, but the head coach of Glascock County Panthers, Coach Chris Kelley, thanks for being on with me.
Glad to be with you.
Well, me and Chris met when I was in college at Augusta State University, or Augusta College, or whatever it was called when we were there.
A million different names.
Million different names. He was a baseball player at Augusta State, probably the greatest athlete to ever come out of Glascock County. He won't say it, but I'll say it.
I don't know about that, but
but good to have you on, man. We met, and he's just always been one of my favorite guys. He's never changed. He still looks the same. He's freakishly athletic. You told me the other day, you asked me about my golf game, and I shared this with one of my coaching buddies today at work. I said, yeah, I'm going to talk to Chris Kelley at Glascock tomorrow. And man said he ain't touched a golf club since football season started, 6 months or so, and shot a 81, and he was not happy about it. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, he's that athletic. He can just do it.
Well, I wish it used to come a lot easier. I'm getting too old for it now, I guess. I can't bounce back like I used to.
Well, your story is a little bit different than everybody else in that you started your career at Glascock, right?
I did. I actually, whenever I was finishing up at Augusta, I got done playing baseball, and I was going to have to do my student teaching actually in the fall. I went out to Hepzibah and helped them with spring practice, and I was going to do my student teaching with Bill Navis. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah.
But anyway, I helped them with spring practice for 2 weeks, and going into the summer, that was the plan. I was going to help them at Hepzibah and do my student teaching. Well, one of our PE teachers at Glasgow left, and so one of our board members, he had announced all our football games when I was growing up, and he called me and asked me if I wanted to come to Glasgow. And so our superintendent in Augusta worked it out where I could come out here and do my student teaching, and I was able to. I probably shouldn't have been doing some of the stuff I was doing when I first started, but it all worked out. I was able to do my student teaching and started coaching here, and hometown, and I've been here ever since, and been a long journey. And the biggest thing when I came back to Glasgow was I wanted to be better for the people that was behind me. I grew up here, and I knew how hard it was to play here, and everybody knows about the losing streak, which has been broken by somebody, thank God. So I don't have to hear that as much anymore. But
well, people need to know that you grew up when you graduated in '93. They had football in the '70s, and then they didn't have it.
That's right. It started back in. I graduated actually in '94. They started back. We actually started rec football, and I was on the first rec team whenever I was in middle school, and so we had rec for 2 years, and then they started back in the high school, played JV, and for 2 years in '88 and '89, and then we started varsity in the fall of '90, and so I played, 90, 91, 92, 93, and in 92, 93, we went to region, and Lincoln County won back-to-back state championships, so that was rough. And we finished with my junior and senior year, we finished with 12 players, one kid standing on the sideline. So that was the last game my senior year. My junior year was Lincoln County. So, you know how that went, and it was rough. Coach Campbell they was in their heyday, but you know, so it was a long, like you said, it started in the 70s, shut down, and started it back up, and I came back in '99 as coach, and you know, we had that long losing streak, and we were able to break it down at Cross Creek that night, my first year.
And who was the head coach when you came back?
John Bowen.
Oh, he's a good one.
Oh yeah, great guy, and I helped him for 3 years, and then he left, and I became the head coach, and I've been the head coach ever since. So you know, I've learned a lot. You know, Coach Luther Welch I spent a lot of time with him.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know how close y'all were.
Oh yeah, I spent a lot of time with Coach Welch. He and you know, I'm still in debt to him to this day. He didn't have to do what he had to do. You know, it was the latter part of his coaching career, really. I mean, it's you know, I spent a lot of Saturdays with him. I would call him and ask him questions. He taught me wing tee, and Coach Barnett, I met with him on defense too. You know, and he taught me a lot of stuff. So, you know, I'm in debt to those guys, and especially Coach Welch. I mean, Coach Welch would have stayed there. If I didn't tell Coach, this time we'd spend there 8 hours, and you know, and I'd say, Coach, it's time for us to go. Oh, Coach, we can stay here. You know, he just loved football, and I loved the wing tee, and you know, of course he did, and he taught me a lot of stuff. And the last time I talked to him was at a Thompson baseball game, and right before he passed away, he wasn't able to get down the hill at the baseball field. If you ever been to Thompson, you can't. It wasn't easy back then to get down that hill, and so he was sitting up on the hill in a chair, and we were still talking wing tee, and I was telling him some of the stuff that we were doing. He said, Coach, I coached 40-some years. I never thought about doing it that way. And, you know, so we were, like I said, the wing tee has been great for Glascock County.
So most people that don't know exactly where Glascock County is in Gibson, Georgia, I know because my great-grandparents lived there, and a lot of my family lives there. Tell people exactly where Gibson is in relation to Thompson and Augusta, and give them an idea of where y'all are located.
My best thing that I always tell people, about 30 miles southwest of Thompson, and you know, about an hour from Augusta. So we're kind of sandwiched between Augusta and Millersville. Okay.
So basically in the middle of nowhere. I ain't trying to be ugly. I'm just saying.
That's exactly right.
There ain't a whole lot in Gibson.
Oh, no, there's not much in Gibson. We're sitting here at the last, you know, our Georgia high school count last year. I think we had 169 in high school. You know, us and Warren County and Central Tableton was the smallest. I think Central's the smallest. And then we've got one less kid in Warren County. And I said, you know, us and Warren County are bordering counties, and very, very small places.
So your NIL deals, you ain't got to worry about none of that in Gibson or anything like that.
No, we're just trying to hope we can get kids to play. You know, when I first started here, you know, it was a lot of the same stuff that, you know, that I went through as a player, trying to get kids to play and stay committed. You know, every year whenever I played, we start off with 25, 30 kids, and by the end of the year, you're down to barely having enough to play. And, you know, a lot of that was the first year I was a head coach. You know, I think we started off the year with 21, and Brad Engel, I don't know if you know him or not.
Yeah, Brad's good, great dude.
Fruitland had a very good football team, and he was at Wheeler County then, I'm sorry. And we only had, I think, 15 or 16 kids, and that was healthy, and they were a state playoff team that year. And I called him. I said, Coach, I don't even know if we can make it through the game. I said, we're so beat up. There's 15 or 16. We're still just. And he said, Coach, we get up by a couple scores, we're gonna pull the starters out, and he did. And you know, I always appreciated that, and he taught me a lot. And that's what I try to do when we playing somebody that we get the upper hand on. I try to do the best I can to take care of people, because the little people, you know, sometimes they just fighting to put a team on the field.
Right. And I know non-region has always been, you know, something that Glascock's had to do in the past, just to, you know, get through it. So talk about that a little bit, about how hard it is to get a non-region schedule together this day and time.
Well, we've been able to play region the last few years, and so I hadn't had to deal with it, but I'm probably the most resident expert on it. I did it so long, and it became a big problem when you had power rankings. People would play you, but when the power rankings came out, several years ago now, it was tough trying to get people to want to play you because they didn't want to have to, they didn't want to lose points. You don't lose points, but they want to gain points. You don't, that's what I try to tell people. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to help you. But that was a tough part, as far as doing your schedule, you always got to go to the back end of that schedule and find, your last few games because everybody's playing region. If you start off in the front end of it, you'd have no problem finding games. But that back end, well, it was tough, and you had to have a lot of teams in the state that played non-region. If you didn't, then you were trying to find maybe a region crossover game that had an odd number for that last week if they had a region playoff, and we've done that a few times, and we'd match up with different regions and their last place team, and so it was always a battle. Scheduling since we went back to a region schedule is way easier. I tell everybody now, this is a piece of cake. When you're trying to find a non-region schedule in football, it can be very, very difficult, and then you got to ride 2 or 3 hours at minimum to find somebody to play. And we went down to Early County, in the playoffs this year. And, I used to be used to them 4-hour rides. Now I'm not used to it anymore. But, back then that was just commonplace. We get on a charter bus and we take off, go to Towns County, or, there's no telling where we would go. We might be in Atlanta one week and Towns the next, or we may be down in South Georgia. We went to Cook County before, and we went to Lanier. We've been somewhere. I've been to about every place in this state playing football.
And I know at a little place like Glascock, you wear a lot of hats. You've also been the head baseball coach, probably head girls, but you've coached everything down there, hadn't you?
I've about done help with everything we have here. Currently right now, my son's in middle school, and so he plays everything. I help with, just like this year, I'd run varsity practice, and then middle school started out to varsity, and I'd get home by 8:30 every night. And right now we're doing middle school basketball, and after Christmas, I'll be helping with middle school baseball. And, after I do weightlifting after school, so, my daughter just graduated last year. She's playing softball at Presbyterian now, and we have junior pro, which is 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. We started out when she was in the 5th grade with football and basketball and softball, and so I took those girls that were in her class and 2 grades below her, and we started softball and played little private schools, and it helped develop our program, and our girls. It was a long story. I feel like we should have won state championship last year, but we came up short. But those same girls are the ones I started with when they were in elementary school. So I was very proud of them. They finished state runner-up last year. And, a little place like this, we'd never played a state championship game. So, I looked at the competitive balance points. Little Glascock, we're 25th, the last 2 years. As far as D2, and, that's something I'm proud of, that our kids are at a little bit of place able to compete, and we're not at the bottom of the barrel anymore.
But you were the head baseball coach for a good while there too, weren't you?
When I first started coaching, I I was assistant coach for 2 years, and then for 3 years, and I was going to do it the first year I was a head coach, football, and then it was just too much trying to do, because we didn't have as much weightlifting in school as we do now, and so I was trying to juggle both of them, and it was just too tough on me, and to try to run a good program for football, and then I got out of baseball, and then I went back, been as the head coach, got back out of it. Went back, so it's a revolving door, and who's to say I won't be doing it again? So, I've been involved in baseball here 3 times, and, typically we usually have a pretty good baseball program. I always have, I think we got some kids coming up that's we'll be able to compete at the state level in a few years.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because you played and we coached against each other. I was a community coach at Aquinas when I first got started, and we got to coach against each other. And when you were Glascock, and then we got to coach against some freaking baseball legends. I mean, Billy Bill at Lincoln County and Gary Couch at GMC, and I worked for Mike Laney, who, without him, Aquinas wouldn't even had a baseball program to speak of.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about that the other day. And, I mean, we got to be around some real good. And then football, you had Frank Vohan was at Washington Wilkes, and Coach Campbell, of course. I mean, there's that. And, I mean, there was just some really, really good single-A football coaches in that region.
Oh, there was.
And baseball coaches, just good coaches.
Just good men. I talked to you a little bit the other day. These young coaches now, with the invent of huddle, has made us lose all those relationships that we used to have, that me and you we cut our teeth in. And they don't know anything about getting up on Saturday morning and driving all over the state, exchanging film, and never knowing if when you leave there, if you actually have a film. I got a cartoon one time, and by your former school, Aquinas, you just didn't never know. That was the only bad film I ever got. But you really never knew. I mean, it was VHS, and then before long we got DVDs, and then Huddle came along. But as far as the coaches, Coach Bill at Lincoln, I coached against. First of all, I played against him when he was coaching, and played against Coach Campbell, and then getting to know them. I spent a lot of time with them as well, and Chief, Coach Ellis from Lincoln, one of the best ones ever been in Lincoln County, coach defense. Most people in Lincoln will tell you he helped keep that football program, going in Lincoln County, and. Coach Campbell and all of his coaches, he just kept so many good coaches for so many years. And that was another reason why they stayed on top for so long. And, Coach Vohan, we used to talk. I never coached against him, but I talked to him a lot when he was up there. He did a great job. And, Coach Laney at Aquinas, we were talking about the other day, whenever I was in high school, Aquinas was just the bottom of the barrel. You might not know if they were ever going to show up to a baseball game whenever I was in 9th and 10th grade, and even in 11th grade. And then by the time I was a senior, Coach Laney had taken them on, and he had turned the corner with them, and, he turned Aquinas into what they were. And, he did a phenomenal job with them. And, you took me back down memory lane with all these old coaches.
Well, Gary Couch at GMC was always one of my favorites, too. I mean, what a great guy.
Oh, great guy, Coach Couch. I actually was coaching. I was a head coach when he was his last year. He coached, and he upset us, actually. We were the better team, and we beat him the first time, but it was his last home game, and they actually upset us down there. I hate we lost, but I was happy for him that he won. And, great guy. He did a heck of a job at GMC. I almost said Aquinas. That would be fighting words between the two schools. But he, like I said, I played when he was coaching, and they were always tough. And it didn't matter what he had, he was going to get the most out of him. I call it squeezing that blood from the turnip. And that's what he always did.
Well, I'll tell you who else was a heck of a baseball coach that probably didn't get any kind of recognition. Old Coach Bowling at Hancock Central.
Well, I tell people that all the time. Our kids, Hancock is actually going to start playing baseball back this year. Our kids are asking me about it because none of them ever played Hancock. And I said, back in the day, Hancock was the best baseball program around here. I said, they were, oh, really? I said, I'm telling you. I said, thought about Coach Bowling. I actually coached against him whenever he was going out. And, of course, he didn't have the talent he used to have, but he was still a competitor, a great baseball coach.
Yeah, I remember when you'd go play at Hancock at their city field or their rec field or whatever, and you ran uphill to first and second base, and you ran downhill. That's another thing that guys don't understand. That region we were in, you played at some places.
Oh, yes, you better believe it.
You play at Warren County, and the left fielder, you couldn't see him but from the waist up.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's
You played at some fields that were a little sketchy. You played at Hancock before they built their new facility that wasn't even a 100-yard field. I've told people that and had no juke joint down there in the one end zone, and people call me a lie. I'm like, no, I swear the field wasn't 100 yards. You get past the 50, they stop and they'd reset the chains. You turn around, go back the other way, and they're like, you lying? I'm like, no, I swear it was in downtown Sparta. It happened.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's just like our football field. You know, when the last time you came here, you had that big old crown in it, and you'd run off the sideline, you'd fall off in the hole, you know. In 2010, we started plans to redo it, and in 2011 we redid it and shifted it over a little bit, and the hole's still there, but you got to go way out of bounds before you fall off in the hole. And
well, I remember y'all have black goalposts. And I remember also in one of the end zones that right when you tipped, if you tapped your toes down inbounds and took a step, you was on asphalt in the parking lot.
That's right. We shifted the field we moved it down 10 yards and about, I think it was 10 yards down and 10 yards over. So, we actually have a fence around most of it. That one side we're talking about where that hole is, no fence over there, but it actually looks like a football stadium. We actually got real bleachers now, and we've had them for a long time now. But like you're talking about these fields, I mean, I go to we probably have the best grass field in our region. Hancock has turf, but our field, we got a practice field down there. We practice on it's the old rec department. The school's always owned it. We turned that into a practice field, got irrigation and everything, and so we stay off the game field, and we probably do have the best grass field now. Compared to where we were, 25 years ago, it was rough.
I just remember being in that region. It was y'all and Warren County, and before they got their new facility, and you'd go over there and play at that place, and Hancock before they got their new facility, and Lincoln County was always in the region, and back when Green Tolliver was Green Tolliver. Before they busted up, they would be in the region every now and then. You had Washington Wilkes and Lincoln County, and I mean, dude, it was just Johnson County would be in the region every now and then, depending on how they reclassified. And there'd just be some. I mean, every sport. Girls basketball was really good. Boys basketball was good. Football was good. Baseball. I mean, every sport. Everybody was good, and everybody was good at something. Y'all might not have been great at football, but you played a numbers game. I mean, you always battled numbers there, like you said. 170 kids at school.
That's right.
So I mean, with football, you have to battle that. So is that why you decided? I mean, is that why the wing tee is just? I mean, you had to pick an offense or an identity for your kids. Is that what made you go that way? That you could always. Your kids would always fit with that offense, or you wouldn't always have spread athletes? I mean, what was your philosophy for, going in that direction?
Well, I feel what happened was, we were running multiple my first year or so. And anyway, we kind of went to some wing tee, didn't really know what we were doing with it, very, very novice at it, I guess I would say, at the end of the year. And then I called Coach Welch and talked to him, and I just, I just fell in love with it. And, when I hadn't, I'm a wing tee guy. We'll still get in a little bit of shock. It's more the Gus Malzahn stuff. We'll still run some wing tee out of it and run some zone read. But, one year I didn't run any, actually 2 years until the last game of the year. I didn't run any wing tee. And the reason was I didn't have enough backs to run wing tee. So, I'm a wing tee guy, but if I don't have enough backs, it's tough to run wing tee. So, and, one year we were, for, I guess you would say, probably 18, 19 games, we were nothing but shotgun. But that was out of necessity. And some of these teams now we will get in a spread when we get against, like when we played Early County. Getting in the spread doesn't really help us because they're a lot more athletic than us. And a lot of our region games is that way. We're a lot better we get angles on people, and our kids understand how to run buck sweep about as good as anybody I've ever seen. And our kids, believe it or not, our ag teacher, Corey Smith, he played at Lowndes, and he was. We were playing a game a few years ago. We wound up losing, and because I threw the ball and we got it intercepted, and our kids could not understand. They went back and told us, "Wow, Coach, Mr. Smith, I don't know why we were throwing the ball. We need to be running buck sweep." And they were like, "He's like, you do have to throw the ball in 2 minute off." He said, "No, we need to run the ball." And that's just how they've grown up doing it, and
they believe in it.
That's right. And we just this year we had one kid run for, I think, 909 yards, and a fullback missed a game. He ran for like 858, and we had, I don't know, we averaged over 300 yards of offense, a game, and it's been a great equalizer for us. Undersized kids. We don't, this year we had 2 300-pounders, but that doesn't ever happen much for us. Now, most of our kids, if we get a kid that's 215, 220, that's a pretty good-sized kid for us. So us going straight at somebody and base blocking them, it's not going to work too good. But we can get an angle on you and down block you or X block you or, pull and kick you, we got a chance.
So it all comes down to fundamentals.
Exactly.
We were talking the other day, and you were like, it's high school football is pretty simple. If yours are better than mine, you're probably going to win. If we're equal, it's going to come down to fundamentals.
That's exactly right. And that's the thing, the Georgia high school allowing us to play these GISA schools, and I'll tip my hat to them. I'll tell anybody when we play them, athletically, they don't make us better, but fundamentally, they make us a lot better because those kids are fundamental, they're smart, and they're going to do what they're supposed to. And if you don't match that, you're going to get beat. And, so there's a lot of people in GISA that are better than, a lot of schools that's in Georgia high school. There's some good athletes, but most of the time it just comes down to fundamentals with them. They're just very fundamental.
So what's some of the things over the years, we talked about young coaches losing that relationship things. What's some other things you've noticed? You're the longest tenured head coach at one school in single A in the state. What are some things you've seen over the years that's changed, good or bad, for high school football?
One thing and we talked about a little bit the other day, one thing that really irks me is, I've been doing this for 26 years now total, is years ago when I'd pull up at a facility, it didn't matter where I went to state, that coach was going to meet me, greet me, say, "Coach, you need anything, let us know. We're going to talk a few minutes and we're going to go about our way, get ready for the game." And I still do that. I don't care who comes here. I'm going to be the first person to meet you. And it's just the way I was raised up and the way coaches used to do it. And now there's a lot of times I don't see the head coach until I shake his hand at the end of the game. And, that's the kind of stuff that has really, really changed a lot. I think we've definitely lost those relationships, and I wish we could change that back, but I don't see it ever changing. The officials now, they're I know we have a hard time finding them, but just the professionalism is not there like it used to be, and as far as the kids, it always changed so much. It is, and not just at Glascock. I see it everywhere. The kids are just so much different now. They used to be a lot tougher. I think we have a lot better athletes now than we had whenever we first started across the state. They may not perform like it, but I think they're more athletic. But just the kids' toughness, just, the referees ask me every week, "Coach, you got anybody we need to check?" Cass, I said, "Coach, we ain't got nobody tough enough, to play in the cast anymore." And I'm sitting there thinking, I had a kid one time that played, and he still blocked really well, because back then we were still Luther Welch flipper, and he had a cast on both arms playing right tackle for us. So, kids like that are they're just not going to do it anymore. The parents are not going to let them do it. That's the biggest thing that's changed the most with the kids, in my opinion, is the parents. They don't, years ago, you were supposed to be tough and all this stuff, and now we get a lot of petting across the state, I feel like. And
I mean, you played on a team with 12 kids. Could you imagine your mom and dad telling you can't get out there and play?
No, hey, listen, your job at Glascock, and that, before I played, they were playing JV, and then whenever I played for 4 years, and after I graduated and went off to college, the one thing that Glascock always hung their hat on, even when I first started coaching here, was, you may be better than us, but we're going to be tough, and we're never going to quit. And and I can say that no matter how bad, even through that long losing streak, I feel like our kids were some of the toughest in the state. I mean, they had to be. I mean, you took a straight beating. I mean, you were undersized, and now, I mean, these kids, if we had 12 now, we wouldn't finish. I mean, it's just the way, the nature of the beast. We're just not tough enough, and that's not just here. I feel like we're way tougher than some schools we play, but we're nothing on the toughness level compared to what was when I first started.
Just a societal issue.
Oh, yes. Now, as far as commitment, I mean, our kids is way different now than it was when I first started. I mean, it was back whenever I first got back here. I mean, it's like pulling teeth trying to get kids to play and get them to practice. And, we still fight some of that with some of the young ones, but your older ones, they're going to pretty much be there. The young ones, you have to get after them, and we had to do bear crawls and stuff and missing practice. It don't take long to start breaking them of that. But, that has changed a lot. You showing up and you got to try to make a practice plan, and you got this one out. Seriously, we used to have kids whenever bird season came in September. If you don't think about it, on the Labor Day, they were going to be shooting birds. I mean, you were going to be fighting that. And they subject, if somebody had some birds, they allowed to miss practice. When I first started, they go shoot birds, and deer season, same way. We used to fight that every year. When deer season came in, somebody quitting or skipping practice to go deer hunting. So, we moved past all that, but, that's been a long time, but I was just sitting here thinking about it, and I used to have to fight that, and a lot of people may think I'm crazy when I say that, but that's the truth.
Well, it's good to hear, it's good for other people across the state to hear, because other people live in, suburban areas and metro areas that talk about the stuff they fight with kids and their distraction and everything else, and think that it's just them. And, I can say this because, like I said, you knew where my great-grandparents lived. They lived in the little project duplexes in downtown Gibson. And,
that's right.
And I know where I've been there. And we used to have the family reunions over there through the woods from behind the stadium at the community center. And up from the old softball field down there where the baseball used to play down there.
Right.
Not at the softball field, but there was the baseball field was down there at the bottom of the hill. And anyway, I know where it's at. It's in the middle of nowhere, y'all. I mean, when he talks about they bird hunting and deer hunting, there ain't much else to do. There ain't nothing else to do. They ain't got no Walmart. How far y'all got to drive to get to Walmart? Thompson?
Thompson, either Sandersville. It's 30 miles either way.
So there you go. I mean, that's that, and you fighting distractions just like everybody else.
The one thing I would say that has changed a lot with our kids do venture out more now than they used to. I mean, I'll be honest with you. When we used to go to Atlanta, I mean, we get on charter bus and go to a ball game up there. That was the first time a lot of our kids ever been to Atlanta. And you really sit back and you think about it, how in this world is this kid 15, 16, 17 years old? He's never been to Atlanta, but we've had a lot of them that was like that years ago. And, once they get out of their element, boy, they were in a bad way.
Yeah, going to Augusta was a big deal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I grew up here. I can tell you, going to Augusta, that was a treat to go to Augusta, go to the mall or something. You just didn't do that. You went once every now and then.
Yeah, it's just hard for people to understand, how different it is to try to build what you've built in Glascock, being so small year after year. And I think one of the things that's probably helped Chris is that now you're starting to get into, you got to be close to where my daddy played. I mean, you got to be coaching some of your buddies' kids.
Oh, I've got some. There's a lot of,
and that's got to help. I mean, that's got to help. That's got to help.
See, I've got one that graduated. He graduated. It was one of my former teammates. His son graduated. I think it was. Let me get my years together. I think it was 8 years ago. So I'm well past that. You know, a lot of these kids, I coached their dad, or either I taught their mama. You know, and so I mean, it's coming full circle. And everybody always told me that if I stayed here long enough, you know, that I would do that. Coach Campbell told me that. You know, at that time, you know, you're young, you don't even think about that. But, you know, I know a lot. And we've had some people move in that I don't know as well as I used to. But, you know, we've got a lot of people here that, like I said, I mean, there's a lot of kids over there. I can tell you who their mom and daddy, I taught them. And you know, so it's good to see them when I do see them. But, you know, you stay somewhere 26 years, even though we're small, I've taught a lot of kids.
So you made the playoffs this year for the second year in a row. That's a huge deal.
Oh, it's huge for us. You know, we feel like you know, this year going into the year, we felt like you know, of course, the first goal was get to the playoffs, but the second one was to try to host a playoff game. And you know, Wilson County, we just shot ourselves in the foot. You know, long story, but we wound up losing 34-32. Hancock, you know, we lost it right at the end of the game. And, you know, Johnson County won our region, you know, and then 6 minutes left to go in the second quarter, we had the lead on them, you know. So we're knocking on the door. You know, we're losing some good seniors. We lost some good ones last year. You know, we just keep trying to grind and get better. And, you know, obviously at Glascock, your first goal every year is going to be to get to the playoffs. You know, you've only done it twice. And it was the last 2 years. So, you know, we want to try to get, and once we do get in the playoffs, we want to get our seeding better so we can advance, you know, past the first round. You know, we went down to Early County, and they're sitting there with 539 kids. And, you know, we were wound up being down 18-0, and we scored, made it 18-8. And, you know, we competed. We just didn't, you know, I don't know, offensively, we didn't score like I thought we could have, but, you know, Coach Killingsworth, he does a great job down there. You know, first time I'd ever met him, great guy, and does a great job coaching.
Yeah, I was there for 6 years. One of my favorite places. He's one of my favorite people, and I can tell you from experience, that's a long way from Gibson, Georgia, Jack.
Oh, it was a long way.
You can't get there from Gibson.
Well, our people here was, you know, great. When we knew we were in the playoffs, you know, that after the last week of the regular season, you know, I got my wife she's the president of the Boosters Club. And anyway, I got her put on Facebook. We're taking donations. We're ready to raise, you know, enough money to take a charter bus and feed the boys the whole day. We ate lunch at Cracker Barrel and Cordell, and then we got 100 subs. We ate a sub before the game, and we ate a sub after the game. So, you know, the people here really came together and helped us out. Man, that's the thing. At Glascock, if you'll, just like the softball team, they went to Columbus last few years, you know, these people here will bend over backwards if you've been successful to try to help you out. And, you know, they want to see somebody do good. And you know, us making the playoffs 2 years in a row is just, you know, 5 years ago, people would have told me I was crazy if I said we could make the playoffs. So, you know, now our next step is, I want them to tell me crazy we're try to host a playoff game, and that's what we're shooting for.
So what's your typical, like, senior class numbers-wise? I mean, is it 7, 10? I mean,
we had 8 last year, and we had 9 this year. Next year, I think we'll have 6 or 7. You know, they're coming back. We had a couple kids that didn't play this year. They'll be seniors, and you know, they say they're coming back out. Not sure if they will or not, but you know, we typically have.
And how many freshmen do you have come in? I mean, is it?
We had a bunch this year. We had 14 this year.
Oh, that's a huge class then.
that's a big class for us. And, next year's class will be smaller. And it kind of runs in cycles like that. I mean, we'll have a big class. My son's 7th grade class, and when they get up there, we're probably going to have at least that many, or probably more. We'll probably have 15 or 16. So, and then the next class is small. So you'll have a big class and kind of a small class. So you just don't never know. We typically, years ago, we got 25 kids. That was our goal, to try to get 25. And now, the last several years we've had over, 35 or more. We started off this year with 38. And, for the first game was a scrimmage. We scrimmaged Aquinas. And so, I mean, typically we want to shoot for 35 right now. And, we've had the most kids. When we had 200 something, we had a little over 200 one time, FT, and we dressed out 40 kids. But that's the once in a lifetime probably ever that we hit over 200 kids in the school, because the classes below them are small, and I don't know how much longer I'll keep going. I got a 3-year-old, so I don't know if I'll still be teaching when he gets there. I might still be coaching. Who knows? But I bet I'll be teaching. But, I can retire in a few years, but I don't see myself retiring. I still love what I do. And, Glascock, I've had some opportunities to go other places, and, I just never did. And especially whenever my daughter got on up, I said, do I want to go somewhere and try to win, or would I rather watch her grow up and help her? Because she really took a great interest in softball. We took her all over the country. She's been to Colorado, California, and, I made up my mind that this is where I was going to be, and I felt like it was best for my family. And, people may think I'm crazy in the community. Coach Wells told me, you coach somewhere, you're going to make 10% of people mad. And he said, if you stay there very long, you're going to make everybody mad. So I haven't made them mad a lot. So, but, I felt this is the best thing. The coaching in Glascock is more of a calling for me, because I just felt like this is what I was led to do to help this place. Because I played here and I knew how bad it was, and we didn't have nothing. I mean, we had the worst equipment you could ever see in your life. And, now our kids are spoiled. I mean, every one of them's got they got a speed flex, and they got $300 shoulder pads, and we just spent $16,000 on uniforms this past year, on jerseys, and then we got just some replacement pants, but we didn't replace all them. But so they're spoiled compared to what it was when I played. I mean, we just played whatever we had,
Well, I'm glad that you're doing it. I'm glad that you're spoiling them kids and taking care of your alma mater. And I'm so glad to call you friend, and proud of the job you done there. And just glad that you got to tell your story to everybody, because, most people, they just hear Glascock and think of the losing streak, and, don't understand what you go through and what it's like to coach there, and what kind of man takes over that program and does what you do, to do that. And I really wanted you to come, and I'm so glad you agreed to come on and do the podcast with me, because, it takes all kinds in this state and across the country to give kids the opportunity to get out and play, whether it's girls softball or football or whatever the sport is, because they deserve the opportunity.
That's exactly right. I can tell you this: if every coach should have to coach at a place like Glascock one time for about 3 years, and they'd get a great appreciation for anywhere they could coach at. It just comes down to a numbers thing and athleticism. A Glascock team is probably not going to be more athletic than you in anything. And numbers, of course, we've talked about the numbers. So, it is a uphill battle. I have coached, even right now, I got 2 guys that work at the school to help me coach, and then I got 2 of my former players, they're community coaches. But, pretty much it's me that comes up with a defensive game plan, offensive. I pretty much run everything, on a daily basis. And that's, you're talking about this young generation. They have no idea. That's old school football when you had 2 coaches and they were doing everything with 50 players. Everybody thinks now that you got to, it's nice to have 10 coaches, but in the old days, you know how it was. I mean, there was 2 or 3 coaches coaching one team. There wasn't 10 coaches. And, and I'm still just like that. I mean, I just come up here on a Sunday by myself to start with, and then the other coaches show up a few hours later, and we go over what we're going to do. And it's tough. So I would say I'm still coaching old school compared like back in the 70s. But I'm not getting any younger, so it's a lot harder. But it's tough. You got to keep up with a lot in your mind that people don't even realize that you got to do.
Well, I'm glad you're doing it. I appreciate you being on, and can't wait to see y'all host a playoff game next year.
Oh, we're gonna shoot for it. That's the goal.
Well, thanks, Coach. I appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.